Hello everybody, Mr. Akins here and welcome to What's on the Comic Rack. In these videos where I'm showing you what I'm reading, what I'm actually doing is I'm going back in an attempt to reread my collection, starting when I was a kid, back in 1976 and 1977. So back in 1976 and 1977, what was actually on the comic rack? Well, there was a lot of Marvel comics that I was picking up. And if you're picking up Marvel comics, there was a lot of Jack Kirby. So in this video, I'm going to be showing a lot of Jack Kirby comic books. Not only comic books that he wrote, but comic books where he just did the cover. And of course, I'm going to show all these comic books Jambo style. Marvel 2-in-1 number 19, covered by Jack Kirby. Corner box art of the Thing right here by Jack Kirby. Not sure where this has been recycled from. And we have some recycled Ed Hannigan art of Tiagra over there in the corner. Now this is definitely a book my mom bought me because we've got staple holes right there. Now despite that, this book is in really good shape. Now this is the first and only appearance of the Cougar. One thing I love rereading these comics is reading Stan's soapbox, reading the letters page, and seeing what comics were available through mail order. Can someone in the comments tell me what we would consider a major title that Marvel was producing at the time, but's not on this mail order list? Now, key significance for me for this comic book, this is my first exposure to the character Tiagra, a character I would become more familiar with in the future with her appearances in the Avengers and West Coast Avengers. Captain America number 200. This is definitely not the comic I had as a kid because I cut that one to absolute pieces. Written and drawn by Jack Kirby. This comic and Fantastic Four Annual number 11 was really my first exposure to Captain America and my first exposure to the Falcon, another character I really liked. And I always loved the aesthetics of the Falcon's costume. I realize just being able to fly is kind of a lame power, but who wouldn't want to be able to fly? Sam Wilson shows off some pretty cool fighting skills in this comic book, and Jack Kirby's dynamic art style definitely adds to that. With these two books, 1976 is behind us, and we move into 1977. Now, my reading in 1976 was dominated by the Fantastic Four, Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. And I was able to steal comics from my brother, but by 1977 my brother had moved out of the house and I was dependent on trading and my mom buying me comics. 1977 was also dominated by the fact that I was introduced to new heroes, new teams, and a particular writer and artist. However, the first 1977 comic book that I pulled out was this beauty right here. Eternals number 12. Yes, there are staple holes right here on this comic as well. Part of that lot that I got when we were headed to the beach, and my mom bought me some comics. Once I pulled this comic book out, I decided, you know what? I'm going to go back and read all the Eternals up to number 12, which would actually take me from 1976, 1977, really forward to 1992. In 1992, I went to the one and only comic book convention that I remember going to, and I bought every issue of the Eternals except 2. Now, I'm primarily a reader, and my mindset was take $40 and buy as many comics as possible. I love Jack Kirby, and each of these issues ranged from around 30 cents to 70 cents. I'm not going to debate which is better, the Eternals or the New Gods. That debate really ends with one word: Dark Side. I started off with Eternals number 1. Regardless, I love this series. This was a really good series. I think Jack Kirby was at the top of his game during this entire series. This is the first appearance of the Eternals, first appearance of the Deviants, first appearance of Icarus, and first appearance of Crow. Next we move to Eternals number 2. Each of these comics were written and drawn by Jack Kirby. Originally this series was supposed to take place outside the mainstream Marvel continuity, Sometimes people say it was, sometimes people say it wasn't. Eventually, it made it into the Marvel mainstream continuity. These issues set up the idea that the Celestials arrived on Earth millions of years ago to experiment on humanity. They created two divergent races, the godlike Eternals and the grotesque Deviants, while giving mankind's forebears the genetic potential to one day produce superpowered beings. Now, this is the first appearance of the Celestials and the first appearance of Ajax. There is a great splash page introduction for this character. And for those that like previews as first appearances, check this out. Next, we've got Eternals number 3. Now, this is the first appearance of Cersei. In this issue, Crow attacks New York City in the guise of the devil, and his deviant troops are dressed like space demons. Crow's plan is to get the human populace to believe that there is an invasion from space led by the Celestials. This is to pit the Deviants' two main enemies against each other, the humans and the Celestials, with the hopes that the Celestials will strike down the humans, much like they struck down the Deviants thousands of years ago during the Celestials' last visit. Next, we've got Eternals number 4, and in this comic, the attack on New York City continues, and Icarus joins the battle. Now, the Deviants are able to defeat Icarus by using a device called a brain mine, which immobilizes Icarus. The Deviants then put Icarus in a capsule and shoot the capsule into the ocean. The art is pure Jack Kirby in this issue. I love the iconic claws the Deviants have on this cover. Very Jack Kirby. When you open this comic up, of course you get a great splash page and you think, wow, this is awesome. And then your mind is blown even more by a 2-page layout. I remember seeing this art in the official handbook of the Marvel Universe before I bought this issue. I always love figuring out where they get those art pieces that they show in the official handbook of the Marvel Universe. Next, we have Eternals number 5. Now, we have 4 first appearances in this issue, all 4 appearing on the cover. First appearance of Domo, first appearance of Makari, first appearance of Thena, and first appearance of Zurus. We get our first glimpse of Olympia, the city of the Eternals. Now, with the Deviants attacking New York and with Icarus seemingly defeated, Cersei contacts Olympia seeking aid. While speaking with Makari, Cersei is also captured by the Deviants. With this knowledge, the Prime Eternal Zurus sends Thena and Makari to New York in order to aid the battle with the Deviants. Next, we have the Eternals number 6. Now, I think this is one of my favorite covers from this series. Great action shot of Thena and Makari. Previously, it was unclear whether the Eternals existed in the same continuity as the Marvel Universe, or it was a separate continuity altogether. Specifically, Nick Fury is mentioned in this issue, and Cersei actually uses her powers to change the features of someone who doubts her power into that of Ben Grimm the Thing. In addition, a SHIELD team of researchers were sent to survey the dome surrounding the Celestials, and at the end of this comic, they are captured in kind of a cliffhanger type scenario. The cliffhanger is resolved in issue number 7. It's revealed that the SHIELD agents were actually reduced to their atoms and placed in a container. Ajax actually reconstructs the SHIELD agents, who immediately began to cause a bunch of trouble, and Ajax has to reduce them back down to atoms again and place them back into the container. Now, the official handbook of the Marvel Universe, Volume 2, Number 2, credits this issue as the first appearance of the One Above All, but he only makes a behind-the-scenes appearance inside the Celestial Godship. Next, we've got Eternals number 8. In this issue, Crow attempts to rekindle his relationship with Athena and takes her to Lemuria, home of the Deviants. Athena and Crow are guests of the Deviant leader Toad for the purification ritual, a combat to the death between Carcass and the Reject. Now, this issue is the first appearance of Ransack the Reject, and Carcass, the killing machine. Both Ransack and Carcass are deviant mutants, but Ransack could pass for a human or eternal, while Carcass is a grotesque monstrosity. I love the letters page in these comics. It gives me an idea of what people were thinking about the Eternals at the time these issues were actually coming out. Like this letter from the letters page. Your new comics, Eternals, is great, as issue number 4 clearly proves. But I have one question. While the Deviants were attacking New York, where were the rest of the local superheroes? And the answer that was given? Well, the Fantastic Four were in transit from Counter-Earth, the Avengers were in New Orleans, the Defenders were somewhere outside of Norman, Oklahoma, and Spider-Man was visiting his aunt in Queens. In other words, everybody was out of town. Eternals number 9. Now this issue is the first appearance of the Eternal Sprite, who creates an array of illusions to harass Icarus, Makari, and Margot as they return to Olympia. The Celestials start making their presence known around the world, actually in this issue. And Athena witnesses a duel between Ransack the Reject and Carcass the Killing Machine, which ends in the apparent death of Carcass. Issue 10 of the Eternals. With this issue, Esson, the Eternal, ravages Lemuria and leaves mysteriously as he appears. Zurus probes the Eternals' mothership and learns of their 50-year judgment plan. Athena also abandons Crow and leaves Lemuria with Carcass and Ransack the Reject. By issue number 11, Zurus is beginning to summon all the Eternals to Olympia. And there's another reoccurring theme I'm beginning to see for each one of these Eternals comics. Right after the splash page, he gives the reader a beautiful 2-page spread. This 2-page spread for this issue, the scene of the Eternals arriving in Olympia. And that leads us to issue number 12 and the book that started it all. Now, I have a distinct memory of picking this book up, and it's still one of my favorite covers from the Eternals series. Now, this is the first appearance of the Unimind. The Unimind is a collective entity of pure psychic energy formed by the Eternals when they merge together. In this issue, the Unimind travels into Earth orbit and actually studies the Celestials. This comic was the first time I actually encountered the Eternals as a kid, and I was really fascinated by them. And Jack Kirby had a lot to do with that. I feel this series is some of Jack Kirby's best artwork, and I really enjoyed his writing. And now that I've caught up to issue number 12, there's a stack of 1977 comics just waiting to be read. But those are going to be for the next video. So until then, I'll see you around the comic rack.